When to Say Yes, the Ultimate Decision Matrix, Episode 10. Are you ready to make your law firm a profit-generating machine that will free up your time and skyrocket your impact? With more than 2 decades of business growth experience and having proven that you can be successful while prioritizing your family and your impact, introducing the Profit with Law podcast. I am your host, the creator of the Firm Differentiator 10X Effect, Moshe Amsel. Well, hello and welcome back to another episode of Profit with Law. I am your host, Moshe Amsel, and today we're going to be discussing when to say yes, and I'm going to be revealing to you my ultimate decision matrix, what I use with my clients to help them figure out how to make a decision on where and when to expend limited resources. Before I jump into the content of today's show, I just wanted to share with you some of our upcoming workshops that we're going to be running. So over the next few months, I'm going to be hosting a series of workshops. The first workshop will be the Law Firm Client Getting Machine, how to create a machine that will produce an unending supply of new clients for your firm. If you want to get on the wait list and be notified when the first workshop is open for enrollment, then just go to profitwithlaw.com/workshop. Again, that's profitwithlaw.com/workshop. And enter your name and email address, and we will be sure to notify you as soon as we solidify the date and time of that workshop. And there will be more to follow. So once you put your name and email on that list, we'll notify you of all of the upcoming workshops that we have going on. And I'm really excited to be sharing that wonderful information with you. If you are in a place where you can't write this URL down, you can always go to the show notes of this episode, which are located at profitwithlaw.com/010. So I'm going to start by telling you something that recently happened with one of my coaching clients, which has prompted me to share this specific information, this specific episode with you. So I received a message from one of my clients with a picture of a solicitation that they received in the mail about an upcoming free session or free information session that they're able to attend where they are going to learn, and it was a series of things that this particular company is able to help them with, specifically in their growth of their law firm. And basically was a solicitation for a form of marketing for your firm. This company would be able to list you in their directory, and they have ways to highlight the firm and so on and so forth. Now, none of that was in the letter. The letter was just basically inviting you to spend a couple of hours with them for free, and gave some optional dates and times. And basically, the question that my client had was, should I attend this session? And I think it's important to understand the difference at this point between response marketing and interruption-based marketing, because we as business owners have to understand marketing to the extent that we market to others. But then we also need to understand marketing as a consumer and how we are being marketed to. Marketers who are good at what they do are experts in being able to manipulate you to say yes to what they want. Now, I don't want to use manipulation in a bad sense. In other words, they don't mean that some of them might, but most marketers don't mean ill will in doing so. They simply are doing whatever they can in their power to get you to say yes to what they are presenting, so that they can provide that value to you. So I would assume that most people who are selling something believe that the people that they're selling it to are going to be better off with that thing that they're selling. So response marketing is where somebody is actively searching for something, and because they're actively searching for it, they provide their information and they say, here, I want this. And in response to that request, they are now marketed to. So let's give you an example. Let's say that you are looking for a new car, and you are thinking about buying a Tesla. So you go to Tesla's website and you are trying to figure out all the information. You have some more questions, and then you see a box in the corner of their website that says, for more information on the first time purchase of your Tesla and all the details that you could possibly want, just give us your name, phone number, email address, and we'll send that over to you. You're actively looking for a solution. You're now putting in your name and your email address to get this information that you're requesting, and you're going to now be marketed to. So you actively sought out a solution, and you provided your information in order to receive that marketing. You desire the email that's going to be sent to you. You're looking forward to it, and you want to open it and you want to consume it. And anything that they're going to send to you afterwards, if you're still shopping for that Tesla, you're still going to be excited to receive that information. That is response marketing. Now, there is another form of marketing, which it really in the back end of it has response marketing in it as well, but it's interruption-based marketing. And interruption-based marketing is where you don't necessarily know that you have a problem, or you don't necessarily know that there is a particular solution to your problem, and somewhere in your life, that marketer interrupts whatever it is that you're doing to stick their solution or the awareness of your problem in your face. So one example would be direct mail. You take in your mail because the only reason we take in our mail is because we expect that we might have something important in there. If we thought that all we were receiving was marketing material, we probably wouldn't even go to the mailbox to retrieve it. But because there are important things that are in the mail, we get all of our mail and we look at it, and that is where somebody can place interruption-based marketing. Another good example is in social media feeds today. So I'm sure that as a consumer, you're aware that Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn all have sponsors. They all have people who are paying to put ads in front of you. And when you have a news feed that is showing you your connections, updates, and what's going on with your family and friends, you might notice that every second or third or fourth article or image or video that you're seeing says sponsored at the top. It's a sponsored post. And the intent of that post is to interrupt you from what you're doing, which is scrolling through the news feed, and bring to your attention something that hopefully is important enough for you to actually leave the feed and follow down their rabbit hole of information, and ultimately they're going to either sell you something or capture your information to market to you over time. That is interruption-based marketing. So when you are hit with interruption-based marketing, it's very easy to fall prey to the marketing tactics, to the language, to what it is they're portraying. And it could be that there's something that is going to trigger inside of you that is going to want to follow it. And it's going to want to take advantage of it. And it's not necessarily a bad thing. I don't want you to think that I believe that you should never click on an ad, or you should never open junk mail, or you should never read that letter. There is a right person, and there is a right time and a right place for the solution that thing provides. So, for example, If I get solicitations all the time in the mail for consolidating credit card balances, and for years I was getting consolidate credit card balance, and these types of solicitations in the mail, but I wasn't carrying a credit card. As a matter of fact, there was a period of time where I didn't even have credit cards. I didn't believe in using credit cards, and I was still getting these solicitations in the mail. So that problem didn't relate to me. In other words, that there's no reason for me to even pay attention to what it is that they have, even though they've highlighted a problem I didn't have. It wasn't even something that was relevant to me, so it went straight in the garbage. I was not the right target for that ad. But at the same time, there's no way for them to know who the right target is, right? They have to have a list that they create based on a certain demographic, a certain location, a certain job title, a certain income level, and so on. So basically, they have to have these criteria and cast this wide net, and then they're going to find some people in there. So if it doesn't relate to you, you're not in the 1% they're trying to find. So let's see. I went down this rabbit hole with interruption-based marketing, but at the end of the day, when something does catch your attention, and now you say, "Oh, this might be a problem that I have. This might be a solution that I need." How do you know whether to actually act on it? How do you know whether to raise your hand and say, "Hey, I want more information"? And what if you say, "Hey, I want more information"? At this point, you should now be aware that you are going to be marketed to, right? And ultimately, at some point, you're going to be pitched a product or a service, and they're going to try to make it very appealing to you. And there's going to be a time limit on when you can say yes. So, for example, for my client, my issue wasn't the fact that she was thinking about attending a 2-hour session, but I was concerned that in that 2-hour session, they were going to pitch something that sounds appealing to her, and she might feel like she's losing an opportunity. They're going to give some sort of incentive or bonus or discount for doing it on the spot, and sign up for something that she might not necessarily need. So my job as the coach is basically to help guide her on that decision path. And that's what I'd like to do for you today on this episode. So when you are faced with a question of, "Hey, I've got this thing I'm looking at. What is it? How do I make the decision about whether to say yes to it?" You first need to look at it and say, was I being marketed to as interruption-based marketing or as this response marketing? So the first question to ask is, without having received this letter, seen this ad, etc., would I have been actively seeking this solution or a solution to the problem that this solves? So you don't have to necessarily been seeking that solution, because you might not even know that solution exists. So it could be that you have the problem, you're aware of the problem, and that you're actively seeking a solution to it, but you didn't know this solution exists. So either one of those, if the answer is yes, then you definitely should proceed to the next question. If the answer is no, then you need to look at it and say, okay, what is my risk in saying yes at this stage to the first offer that they are offering? So if they're selling you something, how much money am I putting into this right now? And does that make a difference in my life? And if they're asking for time, if I need to go sit in a 2-hour session, what does 2 hours cost me? What am I giving up by saying yes to this and attending it for 2 hours? And if that's worth my time to at least find out what it is that they have, or what they're teaching, or what what I'm going to get out of it, then I can put 2 hours into it, but not before I answer the next questions. So once you answer that first question, the next question is, what is my affordable budget to spend on a solution to this problem? So let's say it is a marketing solution, right? So let's say it's going to bring new business to your firm. you have to look at where are you today and how much can your marketing budget be as a percentage of your overall business, and how much are you already spending or have already committed to other marketing ideas, solutions, plans, tactics. And so how much is left in that affordable budget? And yes, I understand that there's also the unlimited budget of potential, right? When we evaluate a decision, so let's say somebody comes to us and says, I have the ultimate marketing solution for your firm. It's going to cost you $10,000 and I'm going to bring you 15 new leads a month for the next 6 months, right? Let's say that's the pitch. Now, you might not have $10,000 today available in your marketing budget, but you can easily figure out that if you brought in 15 leads a month for 6 months, that's 90 new leads. Of those 90 new leads, you can probably close at least 15% of them. And if you should be closing, if you're getting them on the phone, you should be closing closer to 50%, right? So if you brought in 45 new clients, or if you even took 10%, you brought in 9 new clients, most likely, depending on what it is that you're selling, you will easily cover that $10,000 expenditure. However, looking at the future success of the specific offer without an actual money back guarantee that they're going to bring you 15 qualified leads a month, and most of these are not going to provide a money back guarantee on that result because that's not in their control. They're only going to implement their system that is supposed to bring it. So that is future-based budgeting, future budgeting based on expected results. And that is not the way that you want to approach this. So you want to look at it. What is my affordable budget to spend on a solution to this problem today? How much can I afford today, assuming it doesn't work? Assuming that this money ends up not doing what it's supposed to. The worst case scenario. Not that I want you to approach it that way from a mindset perspective. I'm a big proponent of being positive and envisioning the best result possible. But I also want to make sure that your limited resource of money is being spent in the right way. And then the last question to ask yourself, once you know what your budget is, the last question to ask yourself is this the best way for me to spend my limited resources, or is there a better way? And this question you might have to save for when you get pitched, right? So you don't know what it is that they're going to offer you. You don't know what you're going to be on the hook for. You could sit through a 2-hour workshop and at the end be pitched nothing. You could sit through a 2-hour workshop and at the end, you could be pitched a $50,000 product. You could sit through a 2-hour workshop and at the end be pitched a $49 thing. So you have no idea what it is that they're going to be offering at the end of this thing. But once that offer is out there and you know what you're looking at, then you need to ask yourself, is this the best way for me to spend my limited resources, or is there a better way? Now, what are your limited resources? Your limited resources are time and money. Now, it could be also staff, but that's also time, right? So your staff is a combination of time and money. You're paying for them, but you're basically buying their time. So it's one of those two. But when it's you personally, it's time and money are your limited resources. And so we're going to jump into basically a process that I use to help identify which is the best use of your time and your money when faced with multiple options of how to spend your time and how to spend your money, specifically when it comes to finding a solution to a specific problem. So we're not talking about in general what should I do with my money, or in general what should I do with my time. But rather, once we've identified a piece of that resource available to solve a problem, how do we figure out which solution to choose? So real quick, I'm just going to take a break. Here's a word from one of our sponsors. One way that I use to combat the fact that money is a limited resource is by using a Capital One Spark Business credit card. The Spark Business Cashback credit card provides 2% cash back on all my purchases. Not only that, but Capital One reports the credit card activity to your business credit report, which builds your business credit profile. To apply for a Spark Business credit card and receive a $500 bonus when you spend $4,500 in purchases in the first 3 months, simply go to profitwithlaw.com/cashback. Profitwithlaw.com/cashback. I have a Capital One Spark Business credit card in my wallet. What's in your wallet? So what I do is I use a graph in order to map out my various options. And I'm going to use marketing as an example because this is the most common use of this graph that I have, and I share with my clients all the time. So first we draw a vertical line, and that is our x-axis, and then we draw a horizontal line, that's our y-axis. But we only draw the upper right quadrant of your typical graph that you would draw an x and y axis on. So we have a line on the left and a line going across the bottom. Now, the bottom line I identify as money, and the top line I identify as time. And we just assume that the further along the line on the bottom that you get towards the right is going to mean more money. And the further that you get up the vertical line, going away from the intersection of the two lines up on the page, that is going to be more time. Now, we then are going to look at each of the solutions to the problem. So let's say, for example, when we're talking about marketing, you can be doing Google ads, you could be doing Facebook ads, you could be doing radio commercials, television ads, billboards, content marketing, doing a blog, a podcast, videos on YouTube, networking with people, direct mail, and referrals, right? So those are some examples of some of the different things that you can do when it comes to marketing your law firm. Now, what I then do is I take each one and I kind of place a little dot on the graph or in the approximate place that I assume based on how much time and how much money it takes to implement that solution. So, for example, content marketing takes a lot of time, but it doesn't really cost a whole lot of money. To stand in front of a mic and record and then put that out there for the world to listen to on a podcast, or to sit down and write a post and then put it out there on my website, it really doesn't cost anything to produce it. Unless you're paying, for example, for the podcast, you're paying a producer, or for the blog, you're paying a ghostwriter or an editor. So there is some expenditure, but it's really small in the grand scheme of things. But it can take a lot of time if you're producing the content yourself. So that would go high on the time axis, but it would go really early on the money axis because it doesn't cost a lot of money. Now, I'm just going to do a couple of examples here. So another one, let's say, is television commercials. So a television commercial takes a lot of time and a lot of money. It's very expensive to run, and it also takes a lot of time to produce. It needs to be scripted. You need to have multiple takes. You need to, if you as the owner are the actor in the commercial, then you have a lot of time for your own prep and doing the recordings. And if it's somebody else that's doing it, then there's a lot of time involved in your feedback of the results of their work. And there is another time element, and that's how long it takes for the solution to come to fruition. And that is not a resource that you can control. In other words, that's just the payoff time. And that's a different calculation. So that's not what I'm referring to here. So we want to think of this portion of the exercise, that time is the time that you spend doing the activity. So those are going to go on the very expensive as well as the high in time portion of the graph, which is going to be further down the horizontal and the vertical lines. So it's going to give you a dot over in towards the top right side of the graph. Now, after I've now plotted each of the solutions and place them on the graph, what I do is I then take a line and I draw it horizontally across the center of the time axis. So basically I go halfway up the time axis, then draw a line across that is parallel to the money line. I then do the same thing the other direction, and I go halfway down the money line, draw a vertical line that is parallel to the timeline. And what I've essentially just done is I've broken up this graph into 4 quadrants. And what I'm now going to do is I'm going to assign a number to each of the quadrants. And number 1 is going to go in the bottom left quadrant. Number 2 is going to go in the right bottom quadrant. Number 3 is going to go in the left upper quadrant. Number 4 is going to go in the right upper quadrant. So it's hard to visualize this just from me talking about it. You can actually download or see this image on the show notes page. So if you go to profitwithlaw.com/010, there I will have a sample of this image for you to see. But once you have these quadrants identified, any item that's in quadrant number 1 is going to be the first thing that you do. That is the first solution that you should try to use to achieve the results or the answer to the problem, because it takes the least time and the least money. So anything in that quadrant is your number 1 choice. Once you've exceeded all of those options that are in quadrant number 1, and so either there's nothing in quadrant number 1, or you've already tried them, you've maxed them out, and now you're looking for the next thing. You then go to either quadrant 2 or quadrant 3. Now, although I labeled them 2 and 3, for some people 3 is the better option. For some people 2 is the better option. How do you choose? Well, which one do you have more of? Do you have more time, or do you have more money? So if you are doing really well, you have a lot of money, but you're pressed for time, then you're going to use the one that is labeled with a 2, which is more money but less time. It's the bottom right section of your graph. If you have plenty of time but money is really an object for you, then you're going to move up into quadrant number 3, which is further up that timeline and early on the money line, and it's going to be the top left of your graph. You're only going to do the items that fall in box number 4 once you've exceeded every option in boxes 1, 2, and 3. So basically, you should not be running TV commercials if you haven't already mastered Google ads and Facebook ads and content marketing and networking and direct mail, because all of those are going to take less time, less money than TV ads. And I also want you to notice another thing, and that is that in this exercise, I never said that any of these were a bad option, right? So at no time did we make a claim that you shouldn't be doing these because they don't work. These are all proven solutions to a problem. If TV commercials didn't work, nobody would run them. Obviously, TV commercials work. However, if you don't have the money to pay for the TV commercial and wait for the results of the TV commercial, then you're going to go broke before you get to reap the rewards of that option. Or if you don't have the time to invest in it, you can sink a lot of money into something that never gets produced. But at the same time, even if you had the time and you had the money, if you have something that will use less time or use less money and will also produce results, why wouldn't you do that first? Why wouldn't you choose that option first? Obviously, you would. So the only reason that you don't is because you haven't done this exercise, is because you didn't have a way of thinking through the options and coming up with the right solution. Maybe somebody who's doing TV commercials had the cable company come knocking on their door and offer them a great rate to have their TV commercial aired. And now the production quality of that commercial is low because it was an afterthought. They didn't come into it saying, hey, I'm going to run a TV commercial. So here is what I need to do. I need to get a copywriter. I need to find actors. I need to get a videographer and a producer and put it all together and put together this really high quality commercial. And now I need to go and find a place where it's going to run and buy spots and put it there. Instead, it was an afterthought, and now you've got a low-quality commercial that you'd still spent a lot of time and money on, but it wasn't the right use of your time and your money because it was solicited. It was brought to you in an interruption-based fashion, and that's why you said yes to it. So I see this all the time. I see this with firm owners spending time and effort and money on creating a firm video. And there's a whole book on video marketing, and Crisp Video is the leader of the industry. And I forget the owner's name, but he wrote a book recently. And it's a great form of marketing. And he's running a fabulous business off of that. But at the same time, somebody who's brand new in their firm has no business spending $6,000 to $10,000 creating a firm video. That $6,000 to $10,000 could be bringing in specific leads that are perfect for your law firm over the next 6 months. Instead, you created a video that nobody's going to see because you don't have any money left to advertise to drive people to that video. So it's really important to get this right. It's really important to be able to make the right decision at the right time for your firm. And that's why I wanted to make sure to bring this up and discuss this on today's episodes. I hope that this information was valuable to you. And if it was, you're going to love the upcoming workshop. Again, that workshop, the Law Firm Client Getting Machine, how to create a machine that will produce an unending supply of new clients for your firm. I don't have a date and time for you yet. However, you could go to profitwithlaw.com/workshop, put your name and email address in, and we will let you know the moment that date and time is booked and give you the opportunity to register for it. I look forward to seeing you there, and join us on our show notes page. Check it out there, profitwithlaw.com/010. And until next time, have a great one. Have you been enjoying the show? We sure hope so. To make sure you never miss an episode, be sure to hit the subscribe button in your podcast player app. Next week, we will be back with more valuable resources and ideas on how to break the mold and take your law firm to the next level.